Hey, good morning, everybody. Peter Callis with Market Jungle here, closing the day out up $1,800. Today, I'm going to share with you kind of my thought process and what it was when I was looking at the market this morning, how I reacted to price action this morning. I feel like it was pretty interesting. So let me just kind of walk you through my morning. So this morning, I started and I looked at the S&P 500 here. You can see we're still pretty early. I went ahead and marked out some technical levels that interest me. You can see here 2 days ago, we started to have a bounce and we actually reversed right here intraday. And everybody who was long here got caught on the wrong side of the trade as this started to come down and break out below this low and this open right here. We had yesterday a little bit of a push up, and then we drove down to the close here. This is the candle that's forming today. So what I did here was I marked the close and the low, as well as the low of this pivot point. This is pretty critical area. I marked these because these were areas of interest for me. I also marked the close, or excuse me, the open right here. This was another area of interest for me. So this is a higher time frame. Now drilling into the 5-minute, what I did before the market opened was I marked out the pre-market. Oh, bear with me 1 second. So pre-market, you can see that we were trending up right here all morning, pre-market session. This right here is that technical level from the daily chart. So I was watching this technical level in a more granular time frame here. So I'm looking at the 5-minute chart. That was, so my initial consensus was the market's going to fall this morning. You can see we're actually kind of consolidating in a wedge right now, so it could go either way at this point. You can see right here, here's a technical line there and there. So we're forming a wedge right now, but my consensus from the morning was that we were going to continue to fall. So these couple candles right here, this is what I played off from, this opening drive to the downside. The first few trades were all in the airline sectors. So UAL, Dow, AAL, these were all airlines. The airline industry had a lot of excessive volume going into it this morning. It hit all of the Market Jungle alerts this morning. And I saw consistency between all of the airline industries, or excuse me, all the airline companies. Every single company had higher RVOL this morning, higher volume going into them. And so I ended up taking all of those to the long side. Once the market opened here and we started driving up to the long side, and I saw us starting to reject this higher level technical line here, I ended up cutting all of these airlines short. A couple of them, I think Dow hit my target, this one did, and then a couple of these I ended up just closing. So like GPS, I closed, UAL, I closed all of these once I saw that we were failing to break through this with momentum. If I saw the S&P 500 just continue to blow out through this technical level here and start to test this next line up here, I would have held on to these a lot longer. But because I saw it starting to roll over on the 1-minute chart, I decided to start at this point right here was when I started to close all of those trades to the long side, because I knew if the market's coming down, it's just going to pull everything down with it. And I wanted to lock in what I had. And I had already taken some parcels on some of the trades. So that's kind of how I managed that this morning. After this point, when we started rolling over, that's when I looked at BABA and I took BABA. This was an awesome trade for me. I made $700 and something on this one this morning. So BABA, kind of same thing. I took the top-down approach where I looked at my daily chart, marked out my technical levels, looked at my smaller time frames, marked those out. So you can see this was a trend line I marked pre-market session. Here was that technical line from the daily chart. I traded this a couple times. The first trade, I got into it up here. I started after this candle, blew through this line here and rejected it. These couple candles right here is when I started to slowly build a short position. I added into both these candles. I started adding more once we came down here. I added more through here, and then I ended up catching this push down, and I started closing somewhere around this area. This was actually where I closed the trade right here. So I missed this chop right here. You can see I laid out, this was my average price here. My average price was that 76.06 area, 76 to 76.06. I had already made 4R on this, so I wasn't really looking at the price pattern too much on my exit here. I was more looking at my risk to reward. I want to always make sure I'm getting at over 2, ideally 3, somewhere in that 2 to 3 area. This one, I actually started scaling out. So after I got to this 2R here, I did actually take a little bit off before we had this big break. Unfortunately, I didn't hold full size through this, which would have been a lot nicer. But I took a little bit off here, and then I took a little bit off here, and then I closed it here. Anyways, hope that gives you kind of an idea of my thought process today. Looking forward to another day tomorrow, and hopefully I'll continue to add some profits for the week. Have a great day.